Hi, this is Group 17, and we're gonna introduce the food management system. First of all, let's reintroduce what is the system that we are working on. We want to provide an effective and efficient food management database system, and the goal is to ensure that the patients can take food scientifically. For our system, we will talk about the constructions of a database in three aspects, which are tables and relationship, queries, and form. The table and relationship. When we built the database system, we initially made 5 tables. For the patient information table, we provide the patient ID, information, address, allergy information for each patient, and so on. In the food information table, we provide the food calorie, vitamin, protein, fat, and etc. Hospital information table, we provide the hospital address and the phone number, and the rest table, those 5 tables provide the initial idea to support the system, and that ensure us can make the system more detailed further. After we perfect the more tables, we establish the relationship between them, as shown in the figure below. The keys that are noted in the relationships. It is seen from the relationship, the patient ID as a key conquers what information is inputted in the database, since logically speaking, all of the information is dependent on the key, patient ID. For the queries, the first thing we want to make sure is which type of data can be gathered. For example, the patient disease according to patient ID, the patient allergic according to the food restriction, and food restriction depend on the disease name, and department ID according to the department name, and so on. And after we gather those information, we improve it. Like the first one, we add more specification into the hospital department information, and second, we detail the address information and add a click button in the patient information table. And third form, we make the food table more specific and add food data such as calories, fat, protein, and so on. The fourth, for the disease information table, we add click button in it to make sure whether the disease is contagious. This process is mainly because we are constantly looking for what is missing in the system that we have made, and add more queries to make our database more logically. We not only add a lot of queries, but also merge and reduce a lot of unnecessary query. For example, it is not necessary for us to contain all vitamins in the components of food, so we combine vitamin A, B, and D into one item. For another example, we add the contact number of various departments of a hospital, the name of the department head, and the telephone and address of the patients. To ensure that the patient accidentally, if they eat unhealthy food or the food are allergic, the hospital can promptly notify other departments and inform family members. The database from that constructed by either from design or from wizard in Microsoft Access. The forms allow a partitioned entity in the database, as well as allowing inputs of entities to the database by an operator. The entire form that are used in the hospital food distribution database are shown in the below. In the following table, we can get more detailed information by adjusting the content in the table. For example, in the first part, we adjust the patient ID to get what food they are allergic to, and in the second part, we look up the initial of the food to find the corresponding food, from which we can understand the component of the food. In the third part, we can also use disease information to get what food is for the patient is allergic to. And the fourth part, we search for the address and the phone number of the hospital by looking up the name of the hospital. In this part, the operator can find other desired information through the key information. This part is extremely critical. In the food distribution and the processing system, we must understand the food needs for the patient, such as the allergens and so on. The report function in Microsoft Access is applicable when some data needs to be printed or viewed according to what is required for its use. The reports may be used in a broader sense, where any types of data using multiple table can be outputted. The reports may be created using the report design or the report wizard. Below is the entire report that is used in the food distribution database. The administrator can find the patient's information by printing the first report and understand the patient's food allergies. The second report can determine whether the patient's disease is infectious. The third report mainly records which department the patient is in. The fourth report mainly confirms that the patient's age, name, home address, telephone number, and other details, so as to ensure that every food distribution is in the hands of the patient. The fifth report mainly introduces the nutritional content of food, so that it can not only distribute food reasonably, but also distribute food according to whether the patient has food allergies. Report is very important to doctor, nurse, and managers. They can find effective information based on the information described above in the report. We built a system to distribute food to the hospital, and through the improvement and construction of the database to realize our ideas. Our original intention to build this system was because we did some surveys. In the Halifax hospital, government volunteers mainly distribute food to the hospital, and then the nurse distribute the food to the patients. We hope that the system will have built or idea can make it easier for nurse to allocate some food, will ensure that patients can eat food more scientifically and effectively. Thanks.